Welcome everybody. I'm going to go through some features of GP and the Panatracker software that will help you better manage your inventory and your fixed assets. There are some, the agenda includes some inventory features in Dynamics GP you may not know about. I'll go through some basic barcode technology to give you a foundation in that. Take a quick look at what our solution looks like, of course, and some of the fixed asset features in Dynamics GP and other general features that can help you better manage inventory and fixed assets. So some of the key features I want to cover first in Dynamics GP that you may not know about is item resource planning, bin assignment and multiple bins. We'll cover some strategies and advantages, reason codes, assemblies and kits, and the manufacturer item cross-reference table. So item resource planning gives you the ability to set an order point quantity, which could be the minimum stock level, and an order point up to level, which you can use as the maximum. And the advantage of this is we can add a site transfer request or a bin transfer request infrastructure to pick when those order levels have been triggered, when you have a minimum. So for instance, if the order point quantity is 15 and the order up to level is 40, quantity on hand is 21, we can generate a restock logic to say that 19 is needed at this load. Quantity of 19 is needed in the standard location. So the feature that provides this is what we call our directed transfer. It's available in the dashboard. You can review the directed transfers that get created for restocks here. The source site, the site that is going to restock the site, will receive a pick list on the handheld of items that they need to transfer. It looks like this. So this tells them that this is a screen on a handheld device on the scanner, tells them that they need to pick these 4 items and tells them what quantity that needs to be picked. In addition, there can be a via site set up, which would be an intermediary site like the truck, to show that it's in transit from one site to the other, and then when it's received at the receiving site, it will relieve it. It will create a second site transfer to move that inventory to the final destination. The other advantage of using the minimum and max settings is we can display them on our screen. So for instance, here's a transaction that we have called a spot count. A spot count is a neat little transaction that we added that is outside of the GP stock count functionality that allows you to just count literally on the spot, ad hoc, and it will generate an adjustment or a variance transaction. It can display the minimum and maximum points for you to help you with that. The inventory query, as you can see over here, also displays the minimum and maximum. We also offer a stock replenishment transaction, which we would customize to handle, to allow you to scan an item and enter a restock request quantity. So those can be used, that transaction can be used to create this directed transfer in our system. Next feature I want to introduce you to in Dynamics GP is the ability to use multiple bin setup. You can just have a single bin assignment. In that case, the bin is defined on the item quantities card, and that's just a single location which will display to the operator what location the inventory is held in. But consider multiple bin setup when you have items stocked in multiple locations throughout your warehouse. So if you have more than one possible stock location, you probably want to use multiple bins so that you know exactly where your inventory is. You can then also shift or your inventory level management, the minimum and maximum can be shifted down to the bin level now, and you can keep the right inventory in the right bins. For instance, if you want to have a primary picking bin and restock locations. Another big advantage for multiple bin setup is that without multiple bin, the only quantity that is affected the site quantities, and those are impacted by any allocation. So they don't always reflect the true available, or the true on-hand quantity in the bin. So multiple bin setup helps you get a little more accurate. The strategy you want to consider when you're setting up multiple bins is to make those sortable or sequential so that you can walk through your warehouse in bin number order. And the advantage of that is on the pick list that Panatrack provides, we're going to put the pick list in bin number order, so you logically walk through and fulfill this sales order. You want to get not too complicated with your bin levels. You can get so far as to have row, aisle, shelf, and so forth, and that's very logical. You just don't want to, you want it to be somewhat recognizable to the person that's picking what that represents. But of course, you know, you're going to have each bin, as we display here, each bin location is going to be barcoded. So that's one less piece of data that you have to enter. When you go to fulfill an order, when you go to put away an order, you're going to be able to scan the bin, and that becomes part of the GP transaction. So this is an example of where in GP you can perform this additional setup for your multiple bins. You can have it at the site level. You can have a site default. For instance, a purchase receipt, the site of dock will allow you to receive all of your inventory onto the dock. Panatracker will default to that bin, as well as a sales order fulfillment default, which would be where you'd go to pick the bins. You can also define priority bins. That helps you find locations you want to maintain stock level. So priority with which you'd pick and store inventory. Advantages of multiple bin setup. I'm going to go through those now. First of all, as I mentioned, we've actually talked about these as allocations for sales order on a site level only, and the bin quantities, however, are not affected when you allocate sales orders. So that shows you your true on-hand quantity. It also allows you to see exactly where your inventory is located on our handheld device and in GP, of course. Our system is a direct integration with Dynamics GP. I'm just going to take a little side track here. We are directly integrated with GP. We're not a freestanding warehouse system. We're reading and writing directly to GP. We're sending eConnect transactions to GP. So everything that you see in GP is what you see on the handheld device in terms of quantities. We do have a very, the interface is a lot different because there's a different form factor, and it's also, we keep it very intuitive. So what are some of our features then to take advantage of the bin infrastructure in GP? One, we offer a put away transaction. So that's an option to default, have a site default bin, and you will put it away on a dock. That's what we're showing here. And then when you will receive it onto the dock, and when you put it away, it's going to default to the bin that you want to fulfill orders from, for instance. So you can tell it, hey, when I put this item away, I'm taking it from the dock, the handheld will tell you what bin it should be stored in so that it can be fulfilled from that bin. On order fulfillment, as I mentioned, we have our pick list sorted by bin number so that you have a logical pick path through the warehouse. We're also going to show you all bin locations and available quantities in all those bins. And of course, if you're multiple bin, you also have to record all your movement between locations. So we'll help you do that. We even have what we call our license plating capability, which will allow you to move a group of serialized items. If you have serial tracked items and you have 100 of them or hundreds of them, and you don't want to 100 of those serial numbers each time, you can move them to a bin location, which would be, say, a pallet, a movable bin, so to speak, and then you can move that without having to scan each individual serial number each time. We also have extended some of the capabilities in GP in terms of bin by adding the capability to designate whether a bin is a stock bin, a staging bin, an overstock. So you can designate bins to be, this is where I'm going to pick from, this is where I store anything that's overstock, this is the bin I'm going to stage orders in, and then a license plate is a movable bin. So we also add a zone to the ability to define bins, and bins can be set in zones, and that will improve your pick path logic through the store, through the warehouse. Moving on to another feature of GP that not everybody may be aware of. It GP 2013 has been out for a while now. That's when it came out. That's when it was introduced in GP. And reason codes allow you to define a specific reason that is tied to a specific general ledger offset account. And whenever you perform an adjustment in Panatrack, we have a lookup list for the reason code that you see down here. And we're fully integrated with the reason code setup. For adjustments, we're only going to show you the adjustment reasons. You can also set up reasons for transfers. And again, each reason would have its own default offset account, and it shows up in readable, you set up a very easy to read description like department. That would be when you're adjusting it out of inventory and giving it to a department. You can also issue to maintenance, repair, or jobs, so those would be adjustments out of inventory. You can also adjust in to expired product, damaged product, or adjust out for those reasons. So reason codes are very helpful. The kit versus assembly, moving on to a different subject here. We often talk to customers who use those terms synonymously. They're very different in GP in terms of what they allow you to do. A kit item itself does not have any inventory quantities associated with it. It's truly it's the result of combining kit components, and the components are what are tracked as the true inventory items. So if you set up a kit item in GP, you do not have to have the component itself. You can edit the components associated with a kit on an order-by-order basis, so that's an additional benefit. You can have the kit defined, but you can also break out of that definition. A good example of what a kit might be is when you purchase a new cell phone. You can purchase just the phone, but often the retailer will bundle that or bundle it or kit it with a car charger, a phone case, or other accessories, and then the kit is offered at a specific price, but each of the 6 accessories can also be purchased separately. So as I mentioned, kit components can be swapped out. The kit is one way to get inventory out as opposed to an assembly, where assembly you are actually relieving components from inventory and creating finished good. In GP you have GP's manufacturing module, and that's very robust, heavy-duty, bill of material oriented manufacturing system. The assembly item, which is actually part of the core inventory solution, is like a mini bill of material. It makes it very easy to do simple manufacturing transactions. where the components can be items that are sold separately, but you can also use them as components for the finished good and define those in a bill of materials. So in my example here, a chair would be built with a back seat, arms, and legs, and the chair is the item that's sold, and when it's picked on a sales order, it would be under the SKU that represents the completed chair. The components would not be picked independently. But the key is we also have the assembly transaction, which allows you to pick the individual items. Here it is right here. This is an assembly transaction where we're saying we're making 5 chairs, and we show the components that are needed to make that chair. Those items can be picked individually. We even have the autofill capability, which will allow you to just say, yeah, I have all the items right here. I'm just going to autofill this, and it will create the assembly transaction in Dynamics GP. Moving on to another hidden feature, or not hidden feature, but a underutilized feature until you're using Panatracker. With Panatracker, most of our customers use this feature. It's called the manufacturer item cross-reference. And what that allows you to do is to leverage the barcode that comes from your manufacturer or your vendor, and you can set up a cross-reference with it to associate it with your GP item number. It shows up on this table, on this window that you see. So in this example, the item comes in with a barcode indicating an item number of MFG 128 SD RAM, but we're actually associating it with our 128 SD RAM. And we will scan that in to the item code field. When you scan their barcode, we automatically flip it instantaneously over to our barcode. So this allows you to leverage existing barcode without having to label all your inventory beforehand. Now, of course, we also, on receiving transactions, you don't have to have it barcoded. You can pick it from the purchase order list. You can also, you also have the ability on receiving to create barcode automatically, real time, that'll automatically produce the labels that you can affix to your inventory. We do that with an add-on piece of software. So we'll help you get all of your inventory barcoded and help you leverage existing barcode like manufacturer's barcode. You can also have different units of measure within a manufacturer's UPC. For example, if you buy a can of Coke, the barcode on the can will be different than a barcode on a 12-pack, and the barcode on the 12-pack is different than that on a 24-pack. So we've added this logic in so that based on the skin and barcode from the manufacturer, we will determine that, oh, that goes with the unit of measure of case. That's a good point for me to segue into what barcodes actually do, how they work. You can think of it as a barcode scanner interprets the font and returns the value. It's just translating the data in the barcode. Barcode is typically used to identify an item number, fixed asset number, a location such as a bin or a site, even a person. So for instance, if you have an employee badge and the employee has to log in every day, they can actually scan their badge number to log in. Sometimes our customers incorporate the barcode for the item on their sales order or their purchase order document. If they are including paper in their process, you can have it printed out, and then you can scan purchase orders and sales orders as you process them. A barcode alone does not tell you where it is, how many I have. It's just telling you what. It's simply the system around it that is Dynamics GP and PanatrackerGP, that's what tells you the action to take. For example, item X123 is sold, received, moved from bin 11 to bin B11, bin B99. And by combining this identity, at the same time, as opposed to right now without barcoding, it's disconnected. People are writing this down and they're taking it back to be entered. Writing it down manually, it has to be then entered into GP separately. You lose the immediacy and the accuracy of the transaction in a lot of cases. They can be missed, they can be misentered. Labeling at its minimum is going to include an item number. Again, the font, the barcode just represents the item number within those vertical lines. That's what we read. Typically, the description is printed out in human readable form too. If you had a serial tracked item, you'd have two pieces of data to read. You'd have the item number and the serial number. Same thing with a lot tracked item. You'll have the lot number and the item number. In addition, lots can have lot attributes, and you can also capture manufacturing date and expiration date. There's many different kinds of barcodes. They have different symbologies. So a symbology, think of it as a language. Most people are familiar with this UPC code. You see that in the grocery store and retail outlets. So when you go through the checkout line, the UPC is scanned and it returns from the system. The action is return the price. EAN is a European identification symbology. Code 39 or 3 of 9 is a common barcode that is available as a font that you can use in GP Report Writer, Word, Excel, and there are start and stop characters for code 39. QR code is more consumer focused. You're seeing that on your mobile phones, of course. You're scanning that with your mobile phones already. It contacts, it allows you to capture standard contact information or direct you to a website. It's not what you would use for inventory tracking. Excuse me. Code 128 is really the ideal barcode to set up. It supports full alphanumeric, and it's the most condensed 1D barcode, does not require any check digits. It's very simple. But however, 2D barcode advantage, and I'll get into that a little bit more, but it allows you to incorporate multiple data. This is a data matrix 2D barcode. It looks a lot like the QR code. It allows you to incorporate that additional information, such as the item and the serial number, or the item and the lot, even the unit of measure. We're seeing a lot more demand in the industry for GS1 unique device identifiers. It's available in different core symbologies that we discussed on the previous slide, code 128 in Data Matrix. It's a define each data field that we'll look at in the next field. We'll look at on the next slide. If you're in the medical field, you've heard of the UDI or Unique Device Identifier requirements, which are often set up with this format. It's an FDA mandated identification system. Here's an example of the elements of a GS1 transaction. There are identifiers in the barcode to tell you that 01, if it's preceded by an 01, that's the item. 15 is the expiration date. 13 is the manufacture date, and 10 is the lot number. So these just identify the data that follows. It's like metadata. And we give you the ability to fully configure the different types of GS1 information you might have coming in. Even though it is a regulated, or maybe regulated is too strong of the word. Well, yes, it's all coming forth from a regulation, but as any of these things go, there's not 100% compliance across the board. So we see different variations on the GS1 data, and we'll support all those different variations. We give you the flexibility to do so. Here is where I mentioned the advantage of doing a 2D barcode, where we're taking an item number of HC-101 and a lot number of L190516, and we're providing both of those pieces of data in this very compact, compressed barcode. So if you scan, you don't, not only do you get rid of the data entry for the item number, you also don't have to enter the lot number or the unit of measure. It will read that all from that barcode. We designed our own Panacode that we use throughout our system, so that you can read that barcode on all of our transactions throughout the life cycle of your inventory. We also have the ability to mix, just like with GS1. If you don't want to follow exactly our format, you can do so. So when you implement the benefits of that, what are the advantages to you? Well, we see an error rate of 1 in 100 is a considered average for a good data entry person. However, a single character being substituted incorrectly in a barcode will happen only between 15,000 and 36 trillion characters scanned. That's a wide range. I'm not sure where that statistic, but we very rarely see barcodes misread. Occurrence, and our customers and our clients are usually, if that does happen, they're stumped, and it's usually something to do with just the origin of that barcode. If it's formed correctly, it reads every time. We'll also increase speed, because if there's 12 characters of data, that's going to take 6 seconds, whereas reading it's going to take 0.3 seconds. So we definitely increase the data entry speed. One thing we're going to do with making the barcode reading mobile and taking it out on the floor is we're going to eliminate redundant entry. People are writing the data down, recording it on paper, and then it's entered into GP at a later time. We will provide real-time validation at the point of the transaction, so that in and of itself will save time and errors. You won't have to troubleshoot down the road. And it's real time. We're going to update the host system as soon as the transaction is recorded. You also have access to available inventory as soon as it's entered, as soon as it becomes available in the system. So you don't have to go walk over to a workstation to find out where it's at. You don't have to walk to Dynamics GP. It's available on the handheld. We have a very easy to use interface, and this is my opportunity to bounce out here and show you what our interface actually looks like. I've included a skin here so that you can see the handheld device. I'm going to make it a little smaller, I think, so that you can see the whole device. This is a typical scanner. It's got an alphanumeric keyboard. It's very easy to navigate with the enter key, the escape key. I'm going to show you an adjustment transaction. As you can tell, we've got a very simple interface. We divide our transactions that increase or decrease inventory, transactions that track or move inventory, and then order fulfillment or manufacturing. I'm going to have it default to the site that the particular user is in. Here's an example where the reason code is pulled from Dynamics GP. So I pick the reason. I indicate the bin that I'm scanning it to. I scan the item number. and I indicate the quantity. I can do several of those items. So if I'm ingesting in multiple items, then that was very simple and quick, and I can review it quickly. That shows me the summary of what I just performed, and I submit it. Notice that we create a transaction code. This is live, and I'm integrated with GP, and that transaction code is A, and then it ends in 200. So if I go over to Dynamics GP and into my inventory module and take a look at the transactions that have been entered, I should see an A200, and there it is. And you can see that we have sent that transaction to GP in real time. We put it in a batch that you can easily recognize as a batch that came from PanatrackerGP, because we prefix it with that and then indicate what type of transaction it is. So that's a real simple transaction. I'm going to show you a couple of others real quick. I have set up in GP that I'm going to receive on the handheld. That too is under the Add Inventory. Leave Inventory under the Inventory In folder. So I'm going to receive against a purchase order. I have a printer here because I'm able to pick a network printer, and now that persists throughout the day. And what I'm able to do is print labels automatically on the fly as they come in. If I don't need to filter the PO, if I know the PO, I can even scan the PO if I have that available. And then I could scan the document number from the vendor that's supplying that inventory. I would go ahead and scan the item number. This is an example of where I'm leveraging the SKU or the UPC from the manufacturer. I'm reading the UPC. We indicate, hey, we don't know what that is, but do you want to associate it with an item on this purchase order? And if we say yes, and then connect it to B1000, what we've just done is we've created an association in GP under the item purchasing options. And this manufacturer's item number is what I just scanned, 131 or 31020, and it got added to this table. So from now on, whenever I scan 12345 31020, it's going to translate to B1000. And I indicate the quantity that I'm receiving. I print however many labels I want to print. I can then review. I'm not going to receive everything on this transaction just for the sake of time, although it wouldn't take much time. Actually, I take it back. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'll go back and I'll receive the last two. You can tell that the last company that we were working with was a medical supply company. I'm going to go ahead and scan this item. It is a lot tracked item, so notice that we default the bin in, and then we can scan the lot number. If we wanted to, we could add an expiration date, and we indicate the quantity that we're receiving here. If we were to type more than was on the PO, you'll be notified of that. I did it again. I'd print however many labels I wanted to print for that, and they'd be available to go ahead and label my inventory. If I scan a serial tracked item, or if I scan an item that is not known, which I just accidentally scanned a serial number, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and scan that serial number again. I take it back. I'm missing here a little bit. I'm going to scan the item number. There we go. Now, notice that it knows it's a serial tracked item. And if I try to scan a serial number that's already in GP, it's going to tell me that. So we're validating that against the GP database. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a different serial number. So that's how a receiving transaction would look. If I didn't receive all the hospital beds, it's going to inform me of that. I can go ahead and submit the transaction as is. It created a receiving transaction entry, received 404. And when I go over to purchasing and my receiving transaction entry, there it is right there. It's the last transaction in. It shows the 100 of the 2 items I received. And it shows I only received 1 of the hospital beds. So that's a receiving transaction. If we want to take a look at order fulfillment later, let me know and we can do so. But that's a look at our interface. As you can tell, it's real simple to use. We have transactions across the board to take care of the different movement places where you might be moving inventory. We can receive and put away. We can do your item bin moves or bin transfers. Also your site transfers, adjustments, stock counts. Stock count integrates with the GP stock count functionality and updates the stock count entries in GP. We can perform inquiries. We have automated label printing. So those are the core essentials that every system has to have. And what we do is we take these core pieces of functionality. We contain those core pieces of functionality, and then we wrap in certain other transactions depending upon what type of inventory you have. Do you have a stockroom inventory where you're not a distributor, you're just providing inventory for projects, services, and jobs? So, for instance, we'll integrate with GP's project accounting. We'll integrate with Key2Act. So that's one of our products is stockroom inventory. We also have inventory for distribution where you can pick and pack and fulfill orders. We have inventory for manufacturing where we support the inventory BOM, which we looked at earlier, which is the mini BOM, and then also the full-blown GP manufacturing as well as vicinity and horizon manufacturing. We also have clients and a unique solution if you have central warehouse management where you have a hub location in your managing inventory at satellite locations, for instance, a retail outlet. So that's how we line up our solutions, and that's pretty much everything on the inventory side. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and get into the fixed asset features in GP and show you a little bit about the transactions on our handheld. We're going to talk about asset class IDs, class assignments, the asset ID versus the asset label, the ability to perform mass updates in GP, user fields in GP, and the ability to add fixed assets from purchase orders. Asset classes are basically categories for your assets, and they provide automation within Dynamics GP to assign the accounting rules, insurance, and depreciation rules. So a class does not need to be pre-assigned. You can actually have a temporary class assignment, and it can be a capitalized asset or an expensed asset. One thing that you'll notice from the fixed asset screen, most customers are using an asset ID, and that's a number that is assigned by GP, and it's a required number in GP. However, there's also a field in Dynamics GP called the asset label, and that typically, without a solution like Panatracker, that typically isn't filled in. Typically isn't entered, but with Panatracker, you're going to associate an asset label with an asset ID. So when you put on a label with A0 08018, that would become the asset label, and it would associate it with A7001. You can also use suffixes in GP to have multiple asset IDs, but the asset label itself must be unique. So here's an example where you can have one asset ID, MICSP4256, and you can suffix it with a 1 or a 2, but the asset label that you put on there has to be unique. They can be the same value, however, and we do recommend that. If you have a lot of your items already barcoded, what many of our customers do, if they're already barcoded and labeled, but they just haven't systematized them, we have them associate existing label with the ID, and they're different. But on a go-forward basis, it's just simpler to have pre-printed asset labels and have the asset name. One of the neat features in GP is the ability to put assets in a group. So for instance, these 6 assets here can be assigned to a specific group. What is the advantage of group together? Well, you can perform new asset additions, you can retire assets, you can transfer assets if they're all grouped together. We could also transfer a group of assets. If we had an asset group called Mike-SP4256, we could use that to scan. With Panatrack, what you're going to do is you're going to go out and scan every item that you want to be in that group. So we facilitate the creation of the group. And then in GP, you perform the action you want to perform on that group. So you can reassign to a different asset class. You can change the book assignment in GP. You can change the location or the accounting structure. That's the advantage of adding these items to a group, is then you can have a mass update based on the group number. There's also user fields in GP that we extend out to the handheld devices. So, for instance, you can take up to 15 user fields. You can define them for your own purposes. You can define the format yourself and the mask. You can indicate a pull-down list, and Panatrack in turn will display the pull-down list. So this gives you the ability to add additional information to the asset than you have with the standard asset card. We also integrate with purchase orders. Here you see the purchasing transaction and the receiving transaction, and those flow through to Dynamics GP. So when you create the asset in GP, you can click on purchase and it will create this transaction. Then on the handheld, look at the incoming PO. It's going to list all of the items on the PO, and it will update Dynamics GP fixed asset record with both the transaction number in GP and the purchase order number. So this is the purchase order number. Just like we wrapped up the inventory transaction, I want to make sure you know, add an asset, including with the ability that we just talked about, which is to receive it on a purchase order. You can update an existing asset. Where is it? Who has it? So you can change the custodian assignment. You can change the location. Validate asset is one of the typical features that most people go to a fixed asset solution for, is that they need to get out on a regular basis, say once a year, and validate all their assets or where they say they are and that they still exist. So by performing this validation, it records in GP every time that asset is checked and scanned. And then you can find out which assets have not been validated. Associate asset, like I said before, that's when you have a label number that's already on there or a label number that is different from the asset ID. You can associate those. You can also do the group update that we talked about. So that's the fixed asset solution. Other GP features that BCS has probably helped you already understand or you know about is the ability to create business alerts for inventory that can help you manage when you over or under receive, when there's a short pick, when you fall below minimum stock levels, if a new asset is added to a specified class. So you can set up automated emails to be triggered, or these alerts to be set up automatically. And you can also use PanatrackerGP to set up automatic emails. Smart lists, of course, can help you review your fixed asset validation, perform inventory quantity reporting, look at a list of sales orders, and you can also save or print those reports to Word. So to sum it up for us, we offer the inventory and asset tracking solutions that help you capture those at the point of the transaction. That will greatly increase your accuracy and improve your speed. We're completely integrated with Dynamics GP. That's going to be your database of record, and we are strictly a GP shop, so we're very focused on Dynamics GP. Many configuration setting options to tailor the setup to your workflow and processes. We have well over 100 different configuration options, actually probably well over 300, but I don't want that to daunt you. The way the system is customized for you. We also offer user-defined fields, which we call flex fields, and we have the ability to keep adding more features to your solution. So overall, it's a very complete product. We've been doing this for 10 years. It's an affordable solution. We offer quick implementation. We can get you up and running in a hurry with an easy-to-use interface. And we have a lot of expertise on our end. So if you want to contact us, this is how to do so. And I'm pretty sure that there's some information here for how you can get a hold of Bond. So with that concludes my presentation, and I want to take any questions you may have.